You can have it all, just not all at the same time. As an example, combining a demanding job with a family doesn't allow much time for golf and nightlife. However, quicker than you imagine, the kids will be away at school and you'll be in charge of something, giving you a better opportunity to organize your life and activities. Be patient and savor the changes. Again, consistent with the notion that you can have it all, just not all at the same time, it's not too early to think in terms of a segmented career. What might come next? I have friends who are fellow CEOs who, after many years having their report card in the Wall Street Journal every 90 days, are pursuing careers as professors, vineyard owners, musicians, writers, artists, nonprofit managers. No ballet dancers or professional baseball players, though. There are some careers you've already opted out of. A second career is not unrealistic, and it is fun to think and learn about these possibilities as you move along. Next, use your discretionary time well. Don't waste it on reality TV when you could be going to the theater, opera, ballet, symphony, or reading about something that expands your knowledge of the world. These activities are usually acquired tastes, at least they were for me. But once you make the effort to acquire them, they will change your life forever. I even married a ballet dancer, and later had the great experience of becoming the general director of the New York City Ballet. Personal growth, in and of itself, is a source of real happiness in addition to preparation for the future. Next, find a way to get exposed to international issues. Learn Mandarin or Hindi if you don't know them already. As we sit here today, your mid-career challenges from globalization are almost unimaginable. As a director of UPS, I was recently in Beijing, where we have invested in aircraft to connect for the first time 100 city pairs in China, a further boost to an economy that will change the world forever. While it is true that life is what happens while you're making your plans, it is still a good idea to have some kind of a goal. I had a favorite professor who told the class, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. However, the odds are that you'll run across something that will open up new and unexpected opportunities that aren't part of your plan, and you shouldn't be afraid to seize them. My initial goals were modest, but I expanded them as I went along. Finally, and perhaps most important, be humble, especially when things are going extremely well. It's a mentally healthy way to be, and arrogance only creates a group of people who want to see you fail. As my book describes, I personally had trouble with this one when articles started appearing about me, the stock was rising, and I started to feel self-important. I was fortunate enough to have Harvey, who observed all of this and brought me down to earth with a reminder of all the lucky circumstances that were part of who I am and what I was doing. Now, for the few remaining minutes left, let's talk about happiness. For those of you who have scrimped and saved to get through UCLA, you may have debts to pay off, and you may be among the first in your family to graduate from college. It's easy to assume that the whole point of this effort is to make a good living. You plan to get a job, make some money, get a decent home or apartment, a nice car. This is California, after all, and all of that. That description fit me perfectly when I was sitting where you are, and I came out of business school in debt. Trust me, with your UCLA degree, making enough money to get set up with the basics will not be a problem. 5 years from now, other life decisions will be. Your job now is to think beyond the basics and decide for yourself what you really want to do down the road and what kind of a life will bring happiness, not necessarily the most income. To an economics group, I'm sure that's a blasphemous thought. It turns out that in recent years, a number of distinguished psychologists have been studying what makes us happy. And my guess is most of you won't really believe the results. First, a large body of research tells us that wealth above the middle class comfort level makes little difference to our happiness. I strongly believe that this is true. Second, research also shows that there is an impact bias when we buy a new BMW plasma TV or a big house. By this, the psychologists mean we regularly overestimate how happy these things will make us. The excitement dims, we adapt, and the new toy becomes a backdrop to our lives. This can be an endless and ultimately unsatisfying cycle. So, what does make us happy? At the very top of the happiness list for most study respondents, and therefore I venture for most of us, is our relationships with family and friends. All of this means that 70-hour work weeks to make more money make no sense for most of us. That behavior is chasing something that is elusive, that doesn't pay off. Next on the list of sources of happiness is contributing to the lives of others. I remember when I was a teenager my mother telling me about a woman down the street who went out each week to read books to the blind. I said, she's just doing that so she'll feel good about herself, as though that was sort of cheating. Well, there was nothing wrong with the good feeling you get from helping others. In fact, it is a very important part of a happy life, much more so than that new car. A recent survey asked people what they did when they were feeling down and needed to improve their mood. The answers, in order of importance, were as follows. First, talk to friends or family. Second, listen to music. Third, pray or meditate. And four, help others in need. Believe it or not, having sex was number 12 after eating. This last item is true, but I threw it in just to see if you're paying attention. So I'm giving you selfish reasons to organize your life in a way that allows time to help other people. Some people take jobs in the helping professions so they can make a difference in other people's lives every day. This is different from a job advocating for more government money, but that's in my book and a discussion for another day. Others volunteer with their churches, mosques, or synagogues, assume community responsibilities, or find other ways to help those less fortunate on a part-time basis. Then there is a third group who are fortunate enough to make a second career out of helping the disadvantaged. Since 1992, I've been able to spend more than half of my time working in places like the South Side of Chicago, helping to find ways to make life better for those who started life without the advantages most of us enjoyed, and who face barriers most of us would find truly daunting. The quest to have an impact on the problems of these tough neighborhoods usually leads to the governor's offices, since governors have the most control over the huge amount of money now being spent on those below the poverty line. As my book shows, as a nation, we spend more than $380 billion per year, mostly on the 35 million people who are below the poverty line. The poverty line is $18,850 for a family of four. As econ majors, you can quickly calculate that the $380 billion amounts to more than $10,000 per person in poverty, or $40,000 for that family of four. Yes, that's more than twice the poverty level. There's a river of money, yet people were not becoming self-sufficient. These facts led me to become chair of the Governor's Task Force for Human Services and Reform in Illinois, where we reduced the welfare rolls from 650,000 to 90,000, 86%, with most of the 560,000 recipients leaving due to work. Most people, even on the south side of Chicago, want to work. They just need some help in getting there. Work is, for most of us, at the core of a happy life. My work now with the Governor's Task Force for Family Self-Sufficiency in Alabama and the Governor's Task Force for Ex-Offender Reentry in Florida builds on the Illinois experience. These things take lots of unpaid time, but they are well worth it. And if you'd like to learn more, they're on my website. I'm selfish. I don't do this because of Episcopalian guilt. I do it because it makes me happy. The psychic income, as I call it, is enormous. There is also intellectual support for this kind of behavior. Last month, my wife Charlene and I were in Scotland. We're MacDougals, after all, tracing the footsteps of Bobby Burns and Sir Walter Scott. At Bobby Burns' birthplace in Alloway, there was a quote on the wall from the 1700s by the famous professor of moral philosophy, Francis Hutcheson. Hutcheson stated that love for others is the start of all morality. While morality is based on happiness, with the highest happiness being making others happy. From this idea comes the pursuit of happiness clause in our Declaration of Independence. I also believe we were put on this earth to make a difference, but that's another story. Before the number of drifting eyeballs outnumbers those in rapt attention. Let me add a couple of additional thoughts before you come get your diplomas and go on your way. Most of you are too young to have had the enormous benefit of a cancer scare, a heart scare, or other potentially life-threatening incident. This focuses you very fast and very intensely on what is important. You realize that the life you are leading is not a dress rehearsal. It's the real thing. You come face to face with the uncomfortable finiteness of life. This makes you vow to make each day count, each day a work of art. I'd like to take stock at the end of each day. Did I make a difference? Was I kind to people? Did I do the right thing? A reputation is something you can take to your grave, while material goods do not do you any good there. The pharaohs tried to take the material goods along without much success. King Tut's gold is at the LA County Museum. It's not with him. Sir Walter Scott spoke the following words to his son-in-law as he lay dying in the dining room of Abbotsford, his beloved home, where he did most of his writing. He had a view from this room of beautiful gardens and his beloved Tweed River. He said, I may have but a minute to speak to you, my dear. Be a good man, be virtuous, be religious, be a good man. Nothing else will give you any comfort when you come to lie here. Shortly after he died, but his words live on. His life made a difference. For all of you, this day in Pauley Pavilion at UCLA will forever stand out as a milestone of gifts well used, aspirations fulfilled, and hard work rewarded. It has been my privilege to share it with you and your families and friends. My congratulations to you all. Now it is time to make a difference. Good luck and Godspeed to UCLA Economic Class of 2005.